The coffee is for closers scene from David Mamet's Glengarry Glen Ross is one of the greatest scenes in film history. It's one of the greatest scenes in drama history. It's just wildly impressive, gripping, and moving. It is, however, a terrible source to look at for any source of advice or wisdom about business. So it's ostensibly about sales. It's about Alec Baldwin teaching a group of people why they're bad and why they need to become better salespeople. But it's depressing. It's pretty horrifying, and it paints this very bleak picture that if things aren't good for you, they are not going to get better, and that you're not worthy of any sort of improvement or upside or opportunity. It's really dark, and this makes it phenomenal drama. But again, as business people, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, there's not really much we can take from it. It leads down just a dark existential path. Lucky for us though, there's a real life example of Glengarry Glen Ross from David Mamet himself that we can draw learnings from. So in this video, that's what we're going to go over. In the early 2000s, David Mamet is writing for a show called The Unit. He's leading the writing room. This is a big time show. It's on network TV. It stars the guy from the Allstate insurance commercials. And what's happening is that they're in the early days of the show and the writing is not up to snuff. They're getting some pushback from the executives. David himself knows it could be better, and even the team, it feels like they know that this writing could be better. And so he does what a good leader does. He steps in, intervenes, and tries to correct the situation. He does this through the form of a memo. And a memo, that's an old sounding word, and it sounds like something that people in past generations would do. But let's not forget that Jeff Bezos has very clearly set a culture of memos at Amazon, a writing culture that has been really great for information exchange and for understanding how the company needs to be thinking and operating. So David Mamet does the same thing, and he's a writer, so this comes easy to him. But this memo that he writes, it leaked 10 years later, and there's a lot of great lessons in it, and there's things we can draw from it. So while coffee is for closers, that speech, nothing we can take from that, I do think there's something we can take from the David Mamet leaked memo. So in this video, we're going to break that down, and I'm going to share what came out of it so that it might be useful to you. The first thing that's really noticeable about this memo is how much he defines the problem. He says that our writing has really become about telling, and that's not what writing needs to be. It needs to be about showing, and it needs to show a struggle. That's what drama is. There needs to be tension. There needs to be change. There needs to be characters with flaws. He's very clear about what drama is, and he gives examples of what drama isn't. Both of these are helpful in the sense that he is defining the problem and letting them know what they need to fix. And he's being very specific while doing it. The next thing about it is the tone he is using to do so. He's doing this with the tone and authority of a leader. You don't read this thing and wonder what he means. You know exactly what he means. And his tone is pretty emphatic. It was written in all caps, which is in many ways all you need to know about the tone of this particular email. The next thing that's really important about this email is that he's using insider group language. And what I mean by that is he and the writers, they have a nickname for the executives. They call them the Penguins, which is playful and funny. What it probably refers to is that the executives, they wear suits, and penguins are often joked about looking like they're wearing suits. I'm assuming that's the connection there. Several times in this memo, he mentions the penguins. Every time he does that, he is dividing the line between them, the writers, and the penguins, who are the executives. He's saying we are the writers and we need to solve the problems that are facing us, and we need to be great, and we need to do our jobs as writers. Let the penguins be the penguins. We're not in control of their world, but we are in control of our world, and we need to do a great job of writing this show. There's always been tension in Hollywood between the creatives and the executives, and it's no different in this writing room. But by pointing that out, what he's doing is kind of setting the tribal lines, which is going to help bond them together, remind them of who they are and what they're up against, and it's unifying for that particular group. And the final part of this memo, I think, is the most important. This is where he's demonstrating empathy and how much he cares about them and how much he's willing to listen. There's three things that jump out in particular. The first one is just a call for questions. If you have any questions, if you need any help, I am here and I am available, he says very explicitly. He signs off the letter, "Love, David." That's some pretty warm language and nice to see from a leader. But the final part, after that love David is when he says, listen, I don't need you to have all the answers. What I need is for you to ask the right questions. So what he's doing is showing his ability to listen, his ability to empathize, and this is what you want to see in a leader. So this is why this memo from David Mamet is so powerful. It's got some clarity, it's got the problem up front, it's got the tone, he's using insider language, and most importantly, he's listening to his people. All of these things show that David Mamet is the kind of guy that you want to be leading you. Shout out to David Mamet. If you haven't seen Glengarry Glen Ross, it is a phenomenal film. I can't recommend it more highly. But as I said, I wouldn't try to draw too many business lessons from it. What I would draw from it is these beautiful but tragic pieces of the human condition. And I find it inspiring just as a work of art. So, hope you enjoyed this. Stay well, be safe, peace.